Good morning. My name is Jeremy Tosaya. I'm the head soccer coach at Nebraska Christian College, also technical director for Elkhorn Soccer Club, and also a member of the United Soccer Coaches Academy staff. United Soccer Coaches brings together coaches across all levels around the love of the game through advocacy, education, and service. Our diverse membership is united as it strives to pass on that love of the game to their players. Nothing brings coaches together like the annual United Soccer Coaches Convention, where coaches learn, network, and recognize excellence as we renew our commitment to the beautiful game. On behalf of the association, it's my honor to introduce this panel, and specifically Glenn Gray, for today's session. Glenn is currently the Vice President for Buffalo Brand Invigoration Group. Since 2010, Glenn has driven high-profile sport industry partners for Buffalo.Agency, a full-service integrated sports marketing firm based in the Washington, D.C. area. These clients include the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America, Massachusetts Golf Association, Sports Turf Managers Association, Sports and Fitness Industry Association, Street Soccer USA, Top Golf, United Soccer League, U.S. Club Soccer, United States Golf Association, and World Golf Foundation. Additionally, he manages the company's product team with clients like Bridgestone Golf, ECCO, Under Armour Eyewear, and others. Prior to joining Buffalo, Glenn held sports marketing positions with Nike Soccer, Octagon, and Junior Sports Corporation. Former NSCAA Regional All-American and two-year captain at the University of Mary, Washington, Glenn holds a U.S. Soccer Federation National A coaching license and oversees Alexandria Soccer Association's 2001 boys age group. He spent 4 seasons playing in the USL's Premier Development League. Glenn comes from a family of coaches. His dad is on Virginia Youth Soccer Association's state education staff, and his uncle is the former men's head soccer coach at Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia. He's the 3rd member of the Gray family to obtain a USSF A license. Please follow him at Glenn Gray. Please help me welcome our panel, and specifically Glenn as he introduces the rest of our members as they discuss how to market and increase fan engagement for your college.
That's a heck of an introduction. Wow. Whew. We'll probably have a few other folks trickling in, but I appreciate you all joining us this morning. I'm really excited about the panel that we've pulled together for this topic, and I'm not sure it's a topic that has been discussed too heavily in previous conventions. So as we were pulling together this panel, not only did I want to bring together friends from the industry, but also individuals that have deep levels of expertise in different areas, whether it's as a college coach, with the professional game, on the supporter side, or with the fan experience within the stadium. So this morning, just going to provide some introductions, then we're going to go into a couple different topics, be asking these folks a variety of questions, and then from there we'll leave a little bit of time at the end for any questions that you might have. So to start, we've got Justin Brunken down on the far right. Justin is the co-founder of American Outlaws. I'm sure you all are familiar with that group. They are the, as he said, the official, unofficial United States national soccer team supporters group. They have 30,000 members and 196 chapters around the world. It's not his full-time job. His full-time job is marketing and communications for one of the largest electrical distributors in Nebraska. And he's a graduate of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And he'll be talking a little bit more about American Outlaws and their growth over the past few years. Just a quick video, and hoping that the sound works.
The march into the stadium is absolutely amazing. It's telling the world, man, we're coming.
You really feel like these are your brothers and your sisters when you're walking into the game.
When a goal happens in a game,
there is nothing better than that feeling.
Our energy, our vibe, everything that we do comes together as one.
Welcome, Justin.
Thanks for having me.
Next, we have Court Jeske. Court's been pretty busy the past couple weeks. He's the CEO of Nashville Soccer Club, former VP of International Business for Soccer United Marketing and Major League Soccer. He was previously with United Soccer U.S. Soccer Federation, as well as USA Rugby and the Kansas City Wizards. He holds a FIFA master's degree in management, law, and humanities in sport. And fingers crossed, Court, that this video works. It may or may not. Doesn't look like it is. Anyways, very exciting news that's coming out of Nashville just a few weeks ago, and I'm sure that we'll be talking about that as well.
You can check out the video on NashvilleSC.com. Go ahead and log on and become a fan, even better.
Next, we have Pat Vengerle. Pat is the owner of TGI Worldwide for the last 20-plus years. You may have seen their signboards around some of the demo fields this week. Formerly commercial director of United States Soccer Federation. He's managed branding and external build-out for FIFA World Cup since 2006. He's a graduate of Goshen College with a master's degree from Indiana University. And just a couple quick images of some of the work that TGI has done over the past couple years, this most recently here at MetLife Stadium. All-Star game. So Pat will talk a little bit more about TGI and who they are and what they do and how they serve the industry. Next is Tim Von Steeg. He's a head men's soccer coach, University of California, Santa Barbara. So we're excited to have Tim here. Entering his 20th season, he won the 2006 National Championship, two-time NCAA Division I National Coach of the Year, five-time Big West Coach of the Year. And what's interesting specific to this topic is UCSB has been involved in 8 of the top 10 most highly attended college soccer games and has led national attendance for 9 straight years. They'll also be hosting the College Cup next year. We've got just a short video. And this one may not work either. We're 1 for 3. Wait, hold on.
What does heaven look like? Some used to believe in an open field where perpetual war is waged. 2 armies standing across from one another, rivals. The soldiers, hardened by contest, foregone, know that glory lies in wait on the battlefield.
Show up tonight.
Their strength renowned.
And we can play
their skill
like we know we can play.
Unparalleled.
Inside here, comes back out top!
Called onward by spectators who live and die within each victory in the field. Colors, symbols of their affinity, mixed like thunder and lightning. And with the setting sun each day comes the anticipation of tomorrow and the next great battle. So what does heaven look like? See for yourself.
This is a picture from UCSB versus UCLA, which had close to 16,000 in attendance for that particular match. So before we jump into today's objectives, I'll let each individual just kind of go down, tell a little bit about their organization. We'll start with Justin on the end.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm Justin Brunken. I'm one of the co-founders of the American Outlaws. It started about 10 years ago in the soccer capital of the country, Lincoln, Nebraska. It is kind of cool that something like this started in Lincoln, Nebraska, and it's one of the reasons why it kind of spread across the country, because every city in this country has a passionate fan base. And if we could do it in Lincoln, Nebraska, we thought we could do it anywhere in the country, and we did. And now we have 196 different cities that have a local community of fan group to support the national teams. And so we started it 10 years ago to basically fill a gap. We saw some inconsistencies on the games that we traveled to, not having a place to meet up with people from all over the country, inconsistencies with communication in the stadium. And so we kind of took it upon ourselves to do it ourselves. And so every single game we just had make sure we communicated where people could meet up, in events where people could actually meet up, and if we thought we could bring people together at each of the games and in local communities across the country, then the support in the stadium and support outside the stadium will just grow. And so it's been growing ever since. It's been humbling experience that we have like 30,000 members now all over the world. So pretty cool. And we can talk, I don't want to go too much into what we do because I'm sure there's questions later. But yeah, excited to be here.
Thank you. Tim?
Sure. Tim Vomstad again, introduction. So, again, my involvement in this conversation is 19 years ago. You would say I was offered the job, but I don't know that I had to fight a whole lot of people for the job at UCSB. We were a program that if you ranked the 200 schools, we were probably 200. And it was for obvious reasons. It wasn't necessarily the wins-loss, but it was, we had a budget of $5,000 for recruiting, 1.9 scholarships, a dilapidated stadium. And so there was not a whole lot going on, and obviously an average attendance of about 98 if you counted everybody twice. So that's 19 years. So you know, most of our situations in Division I or college situations, you turn around and you go to the administration and you say, well, I need more stuff, I need money, I need recruiting, I need scholarships, and you ask, and of course at a school like ours, the only thing that we really had going on was the fact that the program, we're now celebrating basically 50 years of soccer on our campus. So it's a community that's embraced the sport, but had nobody to support it. So we saw the avenue of growth in putting people in the stadium. That's where I saw the possibilities. And we started with connecting with every single kid in town that was 5 to 12 that kicked a soccer ball. So we started with the kids, and then we moved into kind of the video here, our students. That game that you saw there, I know we're the only campus that draws 9,000 students, which is half of our student population, to an athletic event. And so you put the two together, and next thing you know, I would say, is we became relevant. It helps to win games. It helps to, you know, go play for a national championship. But we started building the infrastructure when there was nothing going on. And consequently, when we did start winning some games and putting some things together, we had the kids, the students who got engaged. And so it's an interesting conversation for me because I think we're in a unique time with how to engage fans now. I think it's a unique time with how do we engage students who spend their entire life on a phone and would prefer to typically do that than come watch an athletic event. This is a great panel. I've enjoyed, brief conversations we've had even discussing this topic.
Thank you. Court?
Yeah, Court Jeske with Nashville SC. Kind of arrived where I am today for working in the sport, starting with the Kansas City Wizards back in 2002 and selling tickets for them at Cavernous Arrowhead Stadium, trying to put people in there on a regular basis. And been fortunate to be involved in the sport and see it grow. And really the last 18 months of my adventure has been in Nashville and launching a professional soccer team from the ground up. We play our first game in USL against Atlanta United in 3 weeks. And so over the last 18 months, we have gone through a process of staying focused on our brand, beating the streets from a grassroots campaign, and really trying to build a club step by step and making sure that the community felt that they were a part of this. I felt like I was in an advantageous position to guide this process, having worked the last 8 years at MLS and some managing international events that went all over the country, things like Copa America, the Gold Cup, Mexican national team tour. And in all these processes, we would try to work with the local clubs, in some cases college as well, and make sure that that international event or that event when it came in was part of the ecosystem and fabric of the soccer community. And it wasn't detrimental to it, but rather it pushed it and it raised the tide for all the boats that we're so fond of saying. So looking forward to this panel and learning from everyone else up here.
Thanks. Pat?
Pat Venderly, founder of TGI Systems, 1997. Prior to that, for about 10 years, worked with U.S. Soccer. It's been a long ride. So I've been in this game of football since 1989. And I saw an opportunity when I left U.S. Soccer to start TGI Systems that the league was starting, the national team was blossoming, and it was all driven by sponsorship. And so I focused on making sure that game day, that the sponsors that gave the money had quality images around the field. And that became how more can we enhance the sponsorship program. So I guess the real reason why I'm here today is to steal a little bit from my D coaching course. I approach business simple to complex, right? So no matter where you want to start with your facility, your program, your team, we can do real simple things to put you on that path to create that environment, that visual environment in your stadium. And we got nice images up here of Copa Centenario and Copa Americas, and we have an office in Germany, and so every time you watch Champions League, we're the ones doing the digital boards for all those Champions League games. But we still work with 20 to 30 Division I programs, men's, women's, youth programs, 40 feet of signage, whatever. So we'll come up with a solution to help you create that community, I think, that you're trying to develop, what you're going to hear these guys talk about, so that you know your fans are coming and there's something special going on there that day. So, thank you for coming.
So just a quick highlight on a couple objectives we hope to achieve as part of this panel, and then we'll kind of set the stage for a couple questions for these folks. But more than anything, we're hoping to share some marketing strategies that can help you to increase attendance at your collegiate games, at your professional games. Uncover tactics for enhanced fan engagement via digital and social. That's going to be a very deep topic that we will discuss. Best practices that hopefully you can take and implement into your program, into your organization, and then ultimately finding ways to uncover new fans and discover how to target those different audiences. So there's 2,000 NCAA and NAIA college soccer programs across the U.S. Additionally, Americans spend about $56 billion annually on sporting events. It's a lot of competition in the market. 70% of Americans say soccer is their favorite sport. There's actually a Gallup poll that was just released last week. So the appetite is there, the trends are there, the interest is there. There's no question that soccer continues to be on the rise for not just us in the room who are soccer fans, soccer coaches, but those that have friends that are interested in the game and want to get involved. And just this year, MLS drew 8.2 million fans in 2017, about 22,000 a game. And this is primarily driven by millennials, 18 to 34-year-olds. So we're going to be focusing, obviously, on the lower end of the millennial scale, the 18 to 22-year-old college students, and how to engage them and get them to come to college games. But again, the numbers are there. And so just setting the stage there. As we define fan engagement, I'm sure folks here in this room have a variety of different definitions of what fan engagement is. Justin, I'll start with you. 30,000 members. I would imagine there's a variety of definitions in how they would describe fan engagement. But to your organization, what does fan engagement mean?
So fan engagement to us, I mean, we're trying to, I think it all starts with the community and giving them a community outside the stadium and inside the stadium. I know I said that before, but I think the community outside the stadium and how you engage fans even away from what's in the stadium is what's going to help drive fandom even beyond bad seasons. One of the coolest comments, I was at the game in Trinidad, and I was in a bad spot after that because I was like, what am I going to do for the next year and a half? We're not going to the World Cup. This is horrible. And we had a lot of people contact us like, what you guys are doing with this community and what we're about is bigger than this one result and not going to the World Cup. And to make us what we're doing sustainable and keep growing on like the local community basis of 196 different cities, it's creating stuff like we do pickup games, and we call it the Corn Cup in Nebraska. There's the Rust Belt Cup, where all these supporters groups and chapters play against each other and do stuff outside of the game itself. We make sure that every one of our chapters has a chapter bar to watch the game, because most of our members, actually, we do surveys, maybe even a little over half of our members of the 30,000 maybe only get to one game or two games in like 5 years. So how do you keep these people engaged even if they're not actually going to attend a game? So when they do have an opportunity to attend a game, they get to, right? One thing we always say is if you just experience a chapter bar with fans once, you're going to be addicted. If you just get into our section that one time, it is like an addiction, and you want to get back and experience that the whole time. So, I always say, you have a community in the stadium with passion. Give a little spot for these passionate fans that release their energy in the stadium and support their team, and then create a community outside the game, and I think it'll thrive. And we call it the AO family. We've had marriages and that are people that met through the AO family, and it's been a cool experience. So I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but that's that's what our driving force is, and we think it's just as important outside the stadium. So.
And Tim, for you as a college coach at the Division I level, how important is the on-field product versus the overall fan experience?
Well, it's interesting because if you really want to break it down, I bless my wife. We have 4 boys, and they all 4 play, and they play at a pretty high level, and so our experience, of course, has always been around soccer. And but interesting enough, for us, it was a very simple conversation, and that is like on our campus, and every campus is unique, and that's why you have to find what works on your campus. But our campus is unique because we literally don't start the first day of classes until 5 weeks into the season. So we had to kind of look at our situation 2 different ways. We have these 5 weeks and literally almost half our season with no students, and then the students show up. And so for us specifically, we tried to find these connection points, and you mentioned the bars and everything else. For us, it was it's Saturday night, and you're a family of 3 kids, and what are you doing? And we would say that for our family. What am I doing with my 2, 4, 6-year-old? Where are we going? What are we doing? And so we started with the idea that you can only go to so many movies. You can only, what activity we're going to do. And so if the kids had an enjoyable experience at that soccer game, win or lose, they go to the soccer game. If we can create a kids area where the parents can sit and watch the game and the kids can go play a little bit and it's somewhat supervised. We tried to find points at which, we have a huge grammar school program where we went to the PTAs. Every PTA of every single school needs an activity for the school. So we will provide you with that activity. And it goes on their calendar, and the tickets are handed out, and here comes, 14 grammar schools to our game. So we started that whole concept of engaging families and kids, and once the kids got to the game, obviously, for us, it was all about the interaction that we have with the kids. And we do have an advantage. One of the advantages of college versus professional is, at some level, at a professional game, it's 15, 20, 25,000 people. It's a little harder to connect. College soccer, if you have 1,500 people attendance, or 800 or 500, there's a way to kind of get at every kid that shows up to that game. So just quickly moving forward on that. So with our students, it's been a different conversation, obviously. Students are absolutely about the event. It is what happens before the game and them getting together. This is why this is an interesting conversation. Students, it's all social. They want to engage. They want to get involved. And ultimately for us, what we did with our students was to create what you kind of saw the video there, which is we created a couple big events, a must-attend event on campus. If you go up to Cal Poly, because this is our relationship which we established with them, when students come to our campuses, they are told as a freshman there's only 3 events you have to attend. You have to. This is a must-event attendance, and this is one of them. And so it's great because literally during warm-ups, you will have 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 people there already because the event is about to start. So I know I probably jumped over your question a little bit, but for me, as colleges, we do have a unique opportunity because we're not dealing with the huge numbers to interact and engage. And every single time you make it easy for families to come to a game, every single time you can engage students in an event, you can get results.
And Tim touched on an interesting point. There's a variety of target audiences that he touched on: families, coaches, college students, and the idea of making one of those home games, a big rivalry game, as you saw from the video. To make that mandatory for the student body, that's pretty impressive. Court, for you, you're in one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S., Nashville. I think the stat's like 60 people a day are moving to Nashville. Obviously just received some exciting news from MLS, 3 weeks away from your first USL game. Already eclipsed 5,000 season tickets, so you're doing some things right there. Tell us a little bit about how you segment those target audiences within the city of Nashville.
I think similar to what Tim said, is you have to individualize it, right? Everyone in this room is aware of the fact that social media is not the wave of the future, it's what's happening now. We modeled our brand growth off of what Atlanta United did and what some other Portland Timbers and some other MLS clubs had done, and that was 95% of our marketing focus is on social and digital media. We don't do any print. We don't do any TV. We do very, very little radio. That's with all the people moving to Nashville. There's a lot of traffic, so we have a captive audience. But we are focused in that social media space because what you can do there is be extremely targeted. And if you do have marketing budgets, you can be very efficient with them and actually go reach out and tap the shoulder of that individual consumer that might be ready to come try out your event and might be ready to try out the sport for the first time, or they're a fan of the sport at a level already, at a different level. Maybe they're an EPL fan or an MLS fan, but then they can make the connection to the fact that this great global pyramid exists and there's a piece of that pyramid right in their backyard. So that's where we really spent our time and attention, is on that 12 to 34-year-old audience and making sure they knew about what we were doing and what we were building, and making sure that we were proud of our brand. And we have never, I have a policy with my staff, if they ever mention the fact that USL is minor league, they have to put some money into a charity jar that we have. We are not minor league. We are second division soccer. We are Nashville's team. We are not secondary to anyone, and we'll go play anyone. And I think that approach is something that can make local communities very proud, whatever level you're coaching at.
So at CES in Vegas just a couple weeks ago, a Turner Sports executive said, live sports provides authentic drama. And so, Pat, for you, what makes the live game experience so special, and do you think that could ever be replaced?
I'm going to go back to, what our clients are asking us to do. MLS draft, anybody go in there yesterday in the room? Right? There's some drama going on in there, right? There's some excitement. And I said earlier about the simple to complex thing. So for the first time, we created, and they're so simple, that pole with the little triangle on it. Relative, very inexpensive, but it was a place for the fan clubs to congregate, become community. And that's who they were. Very simple solution. So there's an example. And then what we're been asked to do in some of our more complex or more comprehensive campaigns is Manchester United having a vote for man of the match with all their fans globally through their social media, right? Or sending in a video from Indonesia and then making sure that they're with their friends together watching the game ahead of time, and hey, there's my image, that's us on the field boards. And Manchester United actually created that. So using those assets in your stadium to engage the fans, whether they're inside or outside, like you said. And then also, places to congregate outside the stadium for 2 hours before you come inside, or have a special entrance. This is where the diehard fans come through. This is their gate. This is identifying that. And then boom, all of a sudden they stop, they take their picture, they post it on social media. Think about the value that creates to you, to your program, to the people you want to engage with. And then on the super high end is we're starting to consume our games here. So we have been asked to look at what are ways that the signage and the sponsorship value can be increased, because they want to ask for another zero behind the sponsorship, so that when people consume their stuff, or the highlights or whatever, how can we give that sponsor more value, even if it's from training center, training camp. We call that digital advertising replacement technology, all done with software. Boom, the shirt sponsor is on the wall behind while the interview's been going on at the training center. Super complex, very simple things, but you can start someplace.
Court, for you, along those lines, within the game experience, how do you hope to connect with fans so that they are on their mobile device, but they're also consuming the game themselves? How important is that balance?
I think we leave the in-game experience to the game itself. I've never been a fan of a lot of distractions. I think we use a term in Nashville that we focused on selling out our supporter section and getting those avid fans there. And we've done that. We've sold it out, and we say, let the fans be the soundtrack for the game. Because the sport is unique. It has its own drums and singing and chanting. Now, I realize not everyone has that at this time, so you have to be a little bit creative. But I've always found that the game has an incredible soundtrack, and we really focus on before and after the game. And that's when you want people talking, and when they're headed to the event or afterwards. That's the opportunity to engage them digitally. But during the game, we keep things very simple, and we keep it focused on the players and the ball. And then, of course, Pat's signage around, which keeps the sponsors happy. But we let the game own that 90 minutes.
So moving into the role of supporter groups, and obviously the game of soccer is a tribal game, and that's one thing when we talked prior to this panel as we began to prep, it was something that we kept speaking about. It's tribal, it's building a community. And so, Justin, for you, why are supporter groups so important in the game, and why are they so important specifically for college soccer?
Well, I love what you said. That's what I love about soccer. First of all, I go to a lot of different sporting events. Obviously, I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska. You have to be a Nebraska Cornhusker football fan and also follow basketball. What I love about soccer is that all these other stadiums, they pipe in what the fans should do, like defense, get loud, all this other stuff. In soccer, the fans lead that atmosphere, and what you said, they lead what the whole stadium should be doing in the atmosphere of the stadium. So we go in there and we want to be the leaders of what's going on with the atmosphere to drive the team and drive fans. I mean, I know our ultimate goal is to help support the team that we're in there for, but we're also there to help drive fandom and show that you can be passionate. And the people from across the stadium will be like, dude, I'm just sitting here. I like the game, but that looks really fun over there. I want to be a part of that, so I have a whole nother experience above and beyond what's even on the field. And I think that's one of the biggest roles of what soccer supporters can do, both at the college level, semi-pro level, professional level, and international level. And that's the coolest thing, and it's our responsibility to do that, and it's a heavy responsibility, but it's great that we have it. We don't need, this time of the game, we're going to play defense chant over the speakers and stuff like that. We're making it simple for you guys, right? We can do that for you, and it's a really cool thing to do. We have those communications all the time with, U.S. Soccer, and that's another part of our role is to be the voice of the fan to the front office. Sometimes we butt heads a little bit, but I think that's necessary because I think we need to drive to have that independent sort of drive of atmosphere and let us do it. So I think we can be the best, right? So,
Tim, how do you go about for the college coaches in the room? How do you go about building a supporter group if they don't have one?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So 19 years ago, and this is my famous story. You have to imagine we have a 16,000 seat stadium with, again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We played our first game, and we had a student at that point. He was a grad student. He was originally from Iran, and if you meet anyone from Iran that's a soccer fan, they're already off the charts. And he stood in the one section, so that we have a section behind us that's supposed to sit 5,000. And if you were going to come to a game, you would sit behind the bench. So parents, families, and there they are. So the whole other side of the stadium, it's blank, okay? And so first game, grad student from Iran shows up, and he sits right in the middle. So he is the only person on a 12,000 seat section. And he started chanting. Gaucho, Gaucho, give us a goal. Gaucho, Gaucho, give us a goal. And he starts chanting by himself. And our players are all looking at him. And next game came, and he found a friend. So now there's 2. And then they invited their friend. And then we had 3. So we had 3 people chanting. And he didn't sit down. He didn't stop. He was relentless. And before the end of the season, there was 20. And that was how our supporters group started, with one guy by himself on the other side. And then I don't know where this came about, because this is a Santa Barbara tradition, but in basketball, when we scored the first basket or the first point of the game, they would throw tortillas on the court, okay? And it was kind of a cool thing. We dug it when we were students. We all showed up. We had to sneak the tortillas in, so it replaced the alcohol sneak into the event. So everyone's throwing tortillas. Well, the problem is in basketball, it's a technical foul. So the coach got kind of pissed off ultimately that we were always down 1-0 every game we played, okay, because we were giving up the first point, and then they got the ball back. Well, what is the penalty in soccer for throwing a tortilla on the field? So our one-person supporter brought his bag of tortillas. So he's sitting up there as he's chanting, and as we scored our first goal, he started throwing tortillas on the field. And everyone's looking at him. So then the next person came. So what you can imagine here is we play in UCLA, and there's 15. It's our big sellout game that we had at Santa Barbara. 16,000 people. 9,000 people snuck tortillas into the game. And when we scored the game-winning goal, our player ran in front. You cannot see him. You can check it out on YouTube if you want to have some fun with it. because all the 9,000 students were throwing tortillas on the field that covered the entire part of the field. You couldn't even see them running down the field. So that was our, again, we talk about it. Every group comes up with their own unique thing. Hockey does it when they throw different stuff on the, you know what I mean? And I think what happened to our supporters group, honestly, is our university tried to take it over. Honestly, that's what really kind of, you rein those kids in and you start, So my big speech is, it started with one, it went to three, someone threw out a tortilla, and 19 years later, they have now officially banned tortillas. The conference said you can't do this. It's a big game. How do you sneak your tortillas in? And then literally after the game, we pick up all the tortillas and we take it to the homeless shelter. Because we felt like we were throwing those away. And then they got creative and they started painting the tortillas yellow and gold on both sides because they liked that. So again, this is for me, it's whatever, if you can find kids or players or people like that can be creative. I think the big conversation we're having now with the social media is we've lost some of that. And it's kind of hard to recreate, that with social media. That's why I'm intrigued by this conversation as much as you guys are, because it is a little bit of a different world, than what we started 19 years ago.
Wow, I was not expecting to hear stories about tortillas being thrown on a soccer field today. Pat, so we've talked about the importance of engaging the fans, but actually building the community. What are some simple tactics you think that are important for building a community? Is important as build as big of a community as you can in terms of the fans that are continually coming out to your games, or is it just making sure that they're engaged and they're having a good experience?
Well, I'd like to ask two questions first. Did you have an official tortilla?
What do you mean by official?
Like a sponsored tortilla, and then have like a nice big...
No, because the funny part was it is.
Just way my mind.
No, I know, but the league passed the rule that says you cannot throw. Right. But again, the great thing about our sport is they can never come up with a penalty. Yeah. Like what? So then they said, well, we're going to yellow card the coach, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And so no one can quite figure out, and so they started the chant because, to be fair, again, I know. We had a really good. Indiana was in town, and it was 12,000 people at the game. And Indiana, for some reason, their right back, Sarkozy, who's now in the league, he was warming up, and he did something inappropriate with the tortilla, in warm up. Well, he's playing right back, and he's right in front of our students. So when he did that, I mean, every time he touched the ball, he got pelted. So now we've gone past, the simply cheering. So we started the chant, tortillas up, not out. So when we score a goal, up, not out. So we started throwing tortillas up in the air, not on the field. And then we also put a bunch of people over there to pick them up right afterwards. But you're right. I mean, everyone jumped in and tried to control something that was just kind of cool. And I go, what is wrong with having some fun at the game, right? I mean, that's the point we're talking about here. Students are digging this. They all want to show up. They're all having a great time. And immediately the school jumps in and tries to, tamp it down and, let's make sure we're not. So our school's been pretty cool about it in terms of allowing us to continue it, even though it's against conference rules to throw tortillas.
How I'd answer your question, though, is I'd say my advice is embrace it and guide it. You know what I mean? So listen to them. What do they really want? Like it could be a certain time during a game. Your school might have a fight song. Like, hey, let them sing and disrupt the game at the 17th minute, something. But you create something for them to build their community, and you can do it through a variety of ways. I mean, it's embrace it.
Yeah, I would agree. Being the supporter side of this, I wouldn't, from a front office or any sort of like university, to try to control it too much. If you control it too much, it's just not going to grow organically, and it's just not going to be authentic. And if it's not authentic, it's not going to be sustainable, and people aren't going to enjoy it. There's not going to be a community if it's not authentic. So, like you said, let them do their thing and help facilitate it, but not try to take it over. I know it's sometimes tough for colleges and front offices because they want that control, but we do that with our chapters. And it's one of the reasons we started chapters all around the country is that us being from Nebraska, I'm not going to fake that I know anything about the soccer culture in Miami or the soccer culture in LA or in Boston. So we wanted to give each of our chapters complete ownership of what they do locally, and we're not trying to dictate what they do, but within like rules, with integrity and being positive passion, let them do their thing. And I think that's kind of equal to what you said. Every place in this country is going to have probably a different way of being a fan. Let them just foster that, but not try to control it and say this is the right way to do it. And I think that's a good thing to think about. So,
I was going to say one thing I've heard Tim mention. We're a team, right? So we just got our schedule from USL and 17 home dates. I'm not pleased with all of them. We have some weeknights and other things. I would challenge everyone, if you're in an advantageous position, you have a great fan base already, fantastic. But if not, not all events are created equal. And sometimes I see brands that are trying to build or people that are trying to sell something try to sell everything. And you're probably much better off to be focused on 1, 2, 3, 4 major events, make those really big, make those marquee events really great experiences for the fans, and that will be a chance to build the brand versus trying to make all 10, 12 home games that you have a year, equal marketing budget, equal focus. Make those kind of what we would call moment marketing and capitalize on those and realize that sometimes the Tuesday night game during the week against a smaller club is going to be what it is. And we purposely leave marketing dollars and focus off those events because there's only so much you can do.
So, Court, to follow that up, you've yet to play a game in USL, but you've built a pretty large social following. You've had huge announcement, tons of fans, the city's engaged. It's become a kind of a sports crazy city with the success of the NHL team. What are some of the things that you've done kind of early on that you can share with this group?
I would say we have been, again, I go back to the pyramid in soccer, and I would encourage everyone in here, be a part of the global conversation, whether it's the college level, whether it's your local high school, UEFA Champions League, MLS Cup, wherever it is, women's national team games, she believes, you can be that local voice that ties together what's going on your soccer pitch locally and what people are watching on TV. Those would be the moments that we've really focused to grab people. All the U.S. games for the qualification process, She Believes Cup last year, we were always doing something that tied into that on social media. Name your favorite women's team player of all time, and we had Abby Wambach and Mia Hamm and all of them listed. Engage the fans that way, right? It's not about Nashville Soccer Club all the time. It's actually usually about the game more so than anything. It's about the players, the ball, and things that are bigger than us, quite frankly. But we provide the forum for fans to be involved in this sport, and that's how we've done it without having kicked a ball yet.
And Tim, with college soccer just being in the fall, how do you keep fans engaged year-round? How do you keep them interested in the men's soccer program 12 months out of the year?
Yeah, I mean, and I think anyone here that obviously coaches in college, that is our biggest nightmare. Like, we go dormant, and the worst part about coaching college soccer is then all of a sudden we go crazy. We have, 10 days of training before we play our first game, and then it's Wednesday, Saturday, Friday, Sunday, and then all of a sudden you don't even breathe, and you look up and you're like, okay, well, we got 8 months to hang out. So it is, trust me, in all of my circles in our world, it is a challenge. It's a challenge for players. It's a challenge all the way around. The world game is played on Saturday, and is played after 5 days of preparation. That's not our world. And so when it comes to engagement, it all hits at the same time, where the fall is a time where you're bringing people on campus to see your games. So you got the whole recruiting component. And then we're trying to market our games. And yet we're trying to, at the same time, come back from a 4-hour road trip and get our team ready to play 2 days after every 2 days. So what we try to do is we try to, again, build in. We spend January all the way here when I actually have some time to show up in conventions and talk. But from this time period is when we want to put things in place. We want to spend all the time building into July. And I usually put a date in my head, like August 1, I'm really done with this conversation. All the plans, anything we've got, I'm extremely, I know this is small compared to some of these guys' operations here, but for us, it took me 18 years to convince our athletic department that we could do real damage if I had a full-time sales guy just for soccer in our department. And I'm proud to say I know I'm the only Division I college coach that has a full-time salesperson on our staff. So every day I meet with them at 9 in the morning, we discuss selling college soccer. But what he comes back to me is he says, Tim, it's kind of hard. I'm selling into 10 games over 3 months. Give me something else to sell. And so there's a couple people here that are listening, but we've tried to create an MLS game we've invited the Galaxy to play at our stadium on February 15th. We will play we're hoping to play the Mexican under-21 national team at our stadium at the end of March. We're hoping to bring in, and this is for him. I mean, he's saying, give me something more to sell into so we can keep engaging our fans. And whether it's us, the Mexican national team, whether UCSB is involved in the game or not, invite, a couple international teams to use our facilities. And so that's where I've had to go with this conversation, because it's a huge challenge, both in trying to sell your games while you're trying to be in your program and coach, and then go dormant for 8 months. And so that's, again, absolutely, it's a huge challenge.
And Justin, for the supporter groups, giving them special treatment, giving them special access, is that something that keeps them coming back, the fact that they feel special when they attend these national team games, or even their digital and social experience, the way you create a very specific environment for them?
Yeah, I think it helps. I mean, as supporters, we do need stuff from the teams and the front offices to help coordinate with security, make sure we get our section of tickets, make sure the communication goes out that this is the requirements of the section. People are standing here, and we always ask for more sort of membership benefits. So we talk about, what sort of special access of stuff can, let's say, the Federation can give to our members to incentivize them to hopefully make that jump to go to the game. Because most of our people have to travel to games. So we have to try to give them as many incentives as we can to make the travel cheap, to give them the resources that the fans in our section needs to have a good experience at the stadium. It's a struggle for us because we go to different stadiums every single game. So we have this conversation ongoing every single stadium we go to about, working with the Federation to say, like, this is what we need to be good fans in the stadium. Do we allow, big tifo? Are you going to help us allow flagpoles? Are you going to help us allow capo stands, drums, this special stuff, these masks that we bring in that? One game we did Tim Howard masks behind the goal, so everyone behind the goal had Tim Howard masks. That would be super funny and intimidating, and we have to make sure all this stuff is allowed in the stadium. So yeah, there is some special access that we look to work with the Federation and I think that's important, right? Again, like, hopefully they can understand that and help facilitate and foster them. Hopefully the supporters group can come up with the ideas. You go, yes, that makes sense. I will work with you guys to make that happen, or let you guys be able to do that.
So shifting to connectivity, Pat, what for you, brands, teams, what are some ways that you think that they can do a better job of connecting with the fans?
Shifted my mind, because when you say connectivity, I always think about a connected stadium.
Sure.
So I think that's one of the first things that fans get disengaged about is, I can't tweet, I can't whatever. But answer your question, I go back, just making them feel special, but it has to be authentic, right? One of the things I tell people is, like soccer fans and soccer communities, we can be some of the most cruel people too. Because if somebody says, hey, I'm a football fan, and you start talking about EPL or this and that, and somebody says something wrong really quickly, you just kind of write them off like they really aren't. So that's what I say in terms of enhancing that bond, to be connected, be authentic, be genuine, because you're being validated. Like, are you really into this? And that might require a coach to convince an athletic director that doesn't know anything about a sport, or an administrator at a front office that came over from an NBA team. You got to teach them authenticity so that it can be. This is real. This is genuine. This feels like a stadium. This feels like a place where soccer people congregate.
Court, for you, the future of connectivity, whether it's within the supporter groups or within the digital and social experience, what are some trends that you're seeing, or things that your organization at the professional level is trying to be proactive about?
Everyone will have a different approach on this, but we're really going to be spending on not only growing our social media, but the CRM and the fan experience. the thing we talk about a lot is people are used to customized emails now. They buy a hat online. We don't offer them a hat the next time. They get weary. So trying to learn as much about your fans as you can, I think. And someone from MLS said something in their digital department said something to me. I think we're probably all a little naive to think email is going to be the primary mode of communication for that next generation. A lot of people don't check their email in Generation Y and Z. So it is social media where they're checking and moving forward. So we try to stay engaged there. The other thing I want to piggyback on what Pat said about authenticity. Every one of you has the chance to represent your city, your university, your region, however it might be. I wish the video had played. One of the things that we try to do in our crest is everything goes back to Nashville, right? The colors are, I get asked, well, you chose the colors of the Predators. Well, no, actually the colors of the city of Nashville's flag have blue and gold, and so we've chosen that. We have guitar strings in our logo, a spinning record for Music City, and tried to make sure that our crest embodies what is going on at the city at that time. So, understanding you have university athletic logos and things that are already codified, what other elements can you add that would be fun and allow people to feel like they're putting their fingerprint on it, whether it's some kind of additional image that had the year the first tortilla was thrown or something like that makes people feel a part of that community, is something really interesting that you should think about wherever you are.
So we've talked a lot about different ways for your organization to create that deeper level of engagement. We talked about building a community. We've talked about the authenticity of the message, the content that you serve them. And likely these gentlemen up here have solid resources to produce some of those things, to be able to create those experiences. But for the folks here in the audience, and starting with you, Justin, what are a couple very simple key takeaways that they could potentially implement into their program?
Yeah, so I was telling you guys earlier, the three things that we did, I think, that helped grow and provide our whole community is be consistent. So we made sure that every single game, anywhere in the world and country, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have that local community and online community, and telling people what we're going to do the night before, where they can gather, tailgate. This is what we're doing in the stadium. So every single game, if it's U.S.-Mexico or U.S.-Barbados, we're going to do this and be there and communicate it. Next one is create the community. And how do you do that and let local ownership of the fans create their own fandom and what that means to them, and don't try to control them and just help foster that. And then communicate. So that was the biggest thing. I mean, communicate digitally. We're creating an app right now to help people connect together online, because if you're a soccer nerd like me, you keep track of your caps, you make notes on every game, who scored, here's a picture from the game, organize it. We need to know who's all going to the game. So I play drums at the games too, so we coordinate with all the drummers that are heading to the game, who's bringing what drum, what are we playing, what's going on here and there. So how do you connect people there online so that they can actually physically connect at the game or at their bar? So those are the three things that we focus on, and I think those are the biggest takeaways that I could probably give you guys.
Tim?
Yeah, let me jump on a couple different things. One is the authenticity conversation. It just reminded me, I was actually at our basketball game. It's crazy. Again, we outdraw our basketball team. We double their attendance typically. So I was at their game, and every single timeout, basketball, that thing stops every 3 minutes, right? It's like, so here comes this really dorky guy, the dorkiest guy in our entire department. He comes out with a mic, and he's like, okay, it's the tricycle race time, and here we got the two people, and we're going to race the tricycles. Okay, next time out is we're going to throw pizza boxes, and it is so fake. And my administrator walked over, and of course, all the students are looking at this guy, and I go, listen, just tell him to just stop, okay? Because I'm embarrassed. It's just the whole thing is fake. They got all their games they got to play. And I remember back in the day when I was a student at UCSB, and we actually had a really good basketball team. Vegas was in our conference, and we were on ESPN, and students are cool in general, right? And so they would do the same kind of thing. They would do the tricycle race, and everybody would okay, great. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the crowd, we had the captain of our water polo team who's like chiseled, okay? And he jumped out of the stands, took off his shirt, and started the UCSB chant. And the place just goes berserk. You know, we're all screaming and freaking out because he took his shirt off and completely unsolicited, just, here we go. We all waited for that moment where our guy would, you know, Gaucho Joe, which is what we called him, would jump out of the stands and blow away the whole department. And so, again, the authenticity conversation, it is huge. It's like, it's kind of real. The second story on, again, in terms of this authenticity is, for me, the biggest takeaway, I think that you can impart on your players what a huge responsibility they have, and it's their responsibility to connect with somebody in your little community. I'm telling you, it's, you know, like we discussed, the one guy who stood there with the stands and got 3 people to come. I got an email a few years ago. My captain, and we do a lot of kids things, a lot of kids programs, a lot of camps, a lot of engagement. And my captain was with his girlfriend at a restaurant, and I got an email from the mom. And he walked across the restaurant to this family, and the little kid had been at one of our camps. And my captain walked over and said, "Hey, Johnny, good to see you. Nice to meet you." And introduced himself to the parents. And that was it. I got the email from the parent, and literally that little kid slept with the UCSB jersey for the next 5 years. With that guy's number on his back. And that's a fan. I mean, you've got that kid coming to your game for the next 5 years, and the family happy to bring the kid, all because of an interaction that took all of 3 minutes. And I think when we look at dollars, and we need marketing budgets, we need all this other kind of stuff, you don't need any money to walk across the room and say, "Hey, Johnny, how you doing? It was great. Your son was awesome at camp, a month ago." And so you can do those things while still, fighting the fights that I always think you have to fight. You got to go fight for men's soccer, women's soccer. You have to on your campus. You have to make yourself relevant. And I think our success at UCSB was not to ask for anything before we put 5,000 people in the stands. When we got 5,000, I said, "Hey, I need a marketing guy." We got 5,000, I need some things. And that's where we grew it by interacting. But again, my big takeaway for you is you can start at the very basic level, and it's not about dollars. You've got 25, 28, 30 people on your squad that are ambassadors for the sport and ambassadors for your program, and you can get them out, and you can engage. And you'll be surprised at how easy it is to get kids to come and support them back.
Court?
I think great keys there. I would go back to when you get your schedule for next year, highlight the game on there that has the most potential, whether it's a rivalry game, whether it's a Friday night with homecoming, whatever it is, and set a goal for that event, or set a goal for 2 or 3 events, but certainly take one. And if it's to fill up your stadium, sell it out, have 5,000, because that event will grab people's attention, and it will whet their appetite to come back for more, because it does have the optics and the fandom and the supporters and the kind of elements that we're all accustomed to seeing for big soccer matches, and that's a great way to start to build it and get the attention of the administration or otherwise. And then I would go back, any engagement that you can do, social media is the key, and that's where the audience is. If you're advertising in your local newspaper, every one of us has a different dynamic, but I'm not sure it's targeting the people that will come out. Same thing on TV as well, actually. Your return is going to be not as strong on your investment as what we've found.
Pat?
I always tell everybody one of the keys to TGI's success is that our salespeople aren't even on our payroll. So we take care of the client, and it becomes almost viral. So I would encourage each and every one. It's insurmountable. He started with one fan, right? Start someplace and know you're going to go someplace. So that one fan became part of his sales team. And then it's 2, and then it's 3. It's no different than you're developing your practice. Simple to complex, right? Start someplace.
Got time for just a question or two from the crowd. Take those now. If there's any questions from the group. Yes.
This is for Tim. Utilizing your players, you touched on it a little bit. How much do you mandate, and you're the one facilitating what they do in the community?
Yeah, a good question, because obviously time demands and everything else. I'll tell you, our most successful program was we have, we have 300, 200 AYSO teams that play 50 yards from our stadium. So we have 6 fields outside of our stadium. There's literally 200 to 300 teams that play there every Saturday. And I would drive to our game Saturday night, and I would have to, I wouldn't even have parking because everybody's there to play these games. And then all these people would hop in their car and drive away. And I would just go, this is interesting. They're already here. And all I got to do is figure out how to get those kids to bring their parents, because the parents will just follow, into the stadium. And so what we started doing, and it's been our most successful program, we're doing a 2-week period at the start of our preseason. Remember, we don't start school until a little later, so I have a little time. We have said that you can sign up for a UCSB guest coaching program, and 2 of my guys will run your practice for you. And it's all my guys. So we run about 125 practices over those 2 weeks. And we try to touch base with every single one of those kids. And then it's amazing because then we do the autograph, and the kids will automatically point to the guy who coached them in their 1 little hour practice. And you know what the practice looks like. It's you show up, you dribble around some cones, and all you end up doing is, all we tell our guys is always end up playing with the kids. Spend the last 30 minutes playing with them. And that's it. I mean, that's been our, so outside, so Monday through Friday, our practice ends, and we send our guys off to go coach little kids for an hour. And we do 100, and like I said, 100. So that's been, to me, of all the things that we've kind of tried to play with, that's been our most successful one in terms of trying to get at it. And I don't think it's difficult. And trust me, you're an AYSO coach, you're not quite sure what you're doing. You get a chance to have 2 UCSB players come run a practice and hang out. I mean, you jump all over that.
Good question. And any other questions from the group? All right. Well, thanks, everybody, for your time this morning. Round of applause for our panelists. And I'm sure they'll be sticking around for a couple minutes if you have any other questions for them. So thank you.